Good morning, students. We are going to continue chapter 6 of NCERT, that is Molecular Basis of Inheritance. Students, till now you have studied the characteristic features of the DNA, the various mechanisms like replication, transcription, and translation associated with DNA. Now the question comes, why actually we are studying DNA in such a great detail? Why it is necessary to understand each and every aspect related to DNA? Why it is so? The question is biggest why. Why we are doing this? Just to understand how our DNA is going to control such a vast amount activities of the body. So how we are going to get which gene is going to control what kind of function? This presentation is completely devoted to understand that phenomena. So you can see we are going to discuss Human Genome Project, and we are going to discuss one more project, that is RISE Genome Project. So these two projects develops our understanding how DNA is very important to incorporate such a vast amount of activities in our body. So let's start. First of all, Human Genome Project was one of the mega project in terms of cost it required and the labor, the scientists, various trusts were involved. It was one of the exceptional kind of project, mega project actually. It requires around 9 billion US dollars, and this much of fund was provided by US Department of Energy and the National Institute of Health. It was launched in 1990 and completed in 2003. One of the trusts of UK, that is Wellcome Trust, also participated. Countries like Japan, France, Germany, China provide additional support in terms of brain, in terms of incorporating knowledge, not in terms of fun, but they provided their best scientists for this project. Okay, and it was a 13-year long project. Again, it is a mega thing because it was a very elongated project. HGP was closely associated with development of a new area of bio, termed as bioinformatics. Okay, the branch of bio that is named as bioinformatics, which was developed after the project of HGP. Okay, now come to the next part. That is a blueprint of HGP. The DNA is being taken from any of the random sample, and it is being extracted, and later on whole of the sequence is going to be incorporated into database. Okay, so incorporated into the database, the sequence order is referred as sequence annotation. So annotation has been recorded in a great data bank. Now comes to the goals of HGP. Identify all the approximately 20,000 to 25,000 genes in human DNA. Okay, so the targeted genes to identify this much, around 25,000 gene, as that time was thought of that human might have constituted this number of genes, but later on it was found out that DNA contains more genes. Okay, determine the sequence of the 3 billion chemical base pair that makes up human DNA. Store this information into that of the database. Improve tools for data analysis because it requires highly efficient softwares. So this type of database has been created in a very automatic software kind of thing. So these two things need to be developed before conducting a project at this level, okay, at this enormous level, what we can say. Transfer related technology to other sectors such as industries, because industries demanded these gene sequences because they have to run their pharmaceutical companies. They want these genome to be encoded as soon as possible so that they can make generic drugs which can be cheaper and can be more efficient than the drugs which are available now these days. Okay, so address LSI. What is LSI? That is ethical, legal, social issues, various issues, that if whole of the genome is going to be encoded, then it is very easy to make clone as well. So this is one of the legal issue which pop out after HGP. And the next, that is ethical issue, which ethnicity is going to play vital role into that of the HGP, because HGP is going to determine which kind of ethnicity is going to be more sharper, more have more brain, and you can correlate with that of the nasals. So this kind of issue can be erupted after encoding whole of the sequence of HGP. And next is social issues. Distinction between male and female will be more wider because we know that there are genes different in both male and female. So social issues can be erupted at any point of time with the HCP. These were kept in mind before conducting a project at high level. So separate committee has been manufactured to deal LSIs. Now comes to the advantages of the HGP. What are the advantages we get from that of the HGP? It actually revolutionized the whole of the diagnostic technology as well as treatment of various diseases as well as disorder. After HGP, we are able to diagnose genetic disorders. Prior to that, various Raman tests were there to recognize genetic disorder. But at the fetal stage, now we are able to diagnose various disorders just after HCP. And the efficient treatment for that particular kind of disorder is now being available because we know the sequence of the gene which has been mutated and causes the disorder. Now we have correct formula for that mutated gene. Okay, so the treatment is more efficient, especially in terms of cancer, in terms of AIDS. It is going to be improvised year after year because we know the whole sequence of the human genome. Provide clues to understand human biome. That is very, very important. Our ancestry can be traced, how we are correlated to various organisms present on our Mother Earth. So these sequences are going to provide the link how we are connected with other organisms, how human is being connected to the chimps and whales, what kind of sequence we actually share with each other. This is going to be find out after HGP. Next, we have already done some of the experiments on some of the lower organisms like bacteria, yeast, nematode, fruit fly, plant, rice. We have to do it at the prior hand. If we are going to be successful in the tracing the genome of these organism, lower organism, we have some sort of confidence that we can able to encode such a vast amount of genome. Okay, so that was the advantages of the HAP. After tracing or encoding the genome of bacteria, yeast, nematode, fruit fly, these all are the lower organisms, but they played a vital role in devising the technology for replication of the DNA and to know the gene product in a better way. Okay, so these organisms provide the site for the multiplication of the DNA and ultimately led to the protein encoding also. So that is very, very fundamental aspect Before just jumping on the concept of human genome, we need to trace the genome of these organisms, because these organisms actually going to provide a shorthand for the replication of the DNA. So they are going to play a vital role in HGP. Next, methodology is being followed in HGP. First of all, we need to understand that human genome have lots of introns, intervening sequences that do not code any of the protein. So only the axon part of the gene is going to incorporated into the form of protein. So these are referred as what? Expressed sequence tags. The genome sequence which are important from uh, the point of view of protein production, they are referred as express sequence tags. And rest of the sequence, maybe introns or repetitive sequence, are those sequences which are integral for the chromosomes condensation, play a vital role in maintaining the vigorosity of the genome, but they are not useful for the process of the translation, because matured RNA is not going to have any sequence of these uh, sequence tags being present in the DNA. Now comes to the sequence annotation. What is sequence annotation? I have already introduced this term. So we are going to understand this term in a better way right now. It is an approach of simply sequencing the whole set of genome that contains all coding and non-coding sequences, and later assigning regions in the sequence with specific functions. So this is very clear. I have already told you that we have coding and non-coding sequences, and first of all, we are going to focus on the express sequence tag, and later on the non-coding sequences are going to be traced out, and the whole genome is going to be incorporated into the data banks. Okay, data banks are the kind of the software which have full information about the genome. So sequence annotation is referred to which nucleotide is present at what location. Thereafter, we are going to assign that this part of the gene is going to perform a specific function. That type of methodology is going to be followed for the process of HGP. First of all, we need to understand the concept of ETS, that is express sequence tag, and later on sequence annotation has been done. Okay, so the next part, DNA from the cell is going to be isolated first, and the various size fragments are to be cut down or spliced down. Later, the multiple copies need to be manufactured. If one copy is going to be like get detrited by any of the unforeseen circumstances, we are not going to take or extract DNA once again. So first agenda or first motive after extraction of the DNA from any of the person or any of the organism, we need to make multiple copies of it. And how we are going to do that? The simple primitive or ancient technology is being available, like a bacterial artificial chromosome, that is BAC, and yak vectors, that is yeast artificial chromosome. BAC and yak vectors are there. What are vectors? Vectors are going to provide the site for the multiplication of the genome. You can see over here and that whole of the vector genome is going to be traced or being cut at a particular location, and thereafter the sequence which is being required to need to be multiplied further is going to be incorporated into the yak, that is yeast artificial chromosome. As the word suggests, it is an artificial chromosome which is being designed according to the need of the scientist. Next, you can see back, that is bacterial artificial chromosome. You can see various sites are being present over here, and we can uh, introduce any of the genome which need to be multiplied millions in number. We can introduce into that of the back artificial chromosome, that is actually referred as E. coli. E. coli plasmid is referred as back, and you can see it is a circular DNA. And What are the advantages of yak and bag? Mapping mostly yeast artificial chromosome accept million base pair. Only million pairs are going to be accepted because it's a eukaryote, fungal eukaryote. And next thing is that back is going to provide acceptance of around 3 lakh base pairs. Okay, so bacteria is quite stable and works more efficiently than that of the yak because it is quite short and it is going to accept the sequence which is need to be multiplied now numerous times, even a million of times. It can be done easily by the yak than that of the yak. Okay, now come to the next part, methodologies of HCP. Frederick Sanger developed a principle according to the fragments of the DNA are going to be sequenced by the automatic DNA sequencer. That is very very important aspect. Frederick Sanger itself developed some of the instrumentation for knowing the DNA sequences. He did not rely on a time consuming process that we have to ligate a sequence into a yak or bag and we have to wait for a while to make it a million of copies, then after we are going to start our process. He devised automated process. He want the result very perfect, very accurate, but in lesser time manner. So he devised some of the technology for himself, which was going to create a breakthrough in the terms of genetics. So nowadays, these techniques forms the fundamental basis of molecular diagnostic tools. Here you can see on the basis of overlapping region of the DNA fragments. The DNAs are going to be arranged accordingly. Computer-based software are there. They can recognize the sequence and the DNA polymorphism. What is DNA polymorphism? 99.9% of your genome is similar to me. Okay, every human shares 99.9% genome altogether. Only 1.1% uh, DNA is mismatched just because of the mutation, and these mutations are point mutation actually, that is referred as DNA polymorphism. That's why the eye color we have seen various varieties. Okay, skin texture also have various varieties. Height can be vary according to the organism concerned. So there are lots of variability. Although we belong to one category, that is Homo sapien, why this sort of variability that exists in nature just because of the DNA polymorphism? That is 0.1% DNA is changing in each and every person except the homozygotic traits. Okay, now come to the methodology developed by Frederick Sanger. Frederick Sanger, you can see, amplified the DNA by the process of polymerase chain reaction, PCR. PCR is a technique which can make multiple copies of a particular DNA fragment uh, within fraction of second. Million of copies can be created in fraction of second. Just just a type of amazing technology, what we can see right now. Here you can see these double-stranded DNA is going to be separated out into a single uh, like a strand, and here one of the primer has been introduced, and later on a whole of the sequence is going to be arranged according to the rule of complementarity. Here you can see these newly formed strand is might be fluorescent, chromographic, and according to the usage of the color, these peaks can be traced out. You can see T with a yellow peak, C with a blue peak, A with that of the uh, dark red color, and then orange red color or again. Then we have C, G accordingly. The vast variety of the colors are there to create the fluorescent bouquet to the amount of sequence being used for producing complementarity. So that's how we can recognize what base pair comes after what. This is the type of annotation we actually demand for the process of sequence annotation. This is a second generation sequence where the sequence is going to be hybridized with that of the solid surface, followed by the amplification of the fragments into that of the cluster here. And the fluorescent level nucleides are incorporated while highly sensitive cameras recorded the sequence of the light. These are just a kind of technology being used nowadays. Okay, so the hybridization second generation technologies we are actually using right now, and this is just a modification of this technique. And here you can see the whole genome is going to be sequenced according to the base sequence. Okay, quantification can be easily made altogether. Now, salient feature of the human genome. Around the human genome contains this much million of nucleotide base pair. An average gene constitute around 3,000 pair, except dystrophin. Dystrophin gene actually constitute 2.4 million base pair. It is one of the longest gene into the human genome, and it is one of the largest. Okay, so here you can see uh, total number of genes is estimated 30,000. Now we know it is around 1,40,000. Almost all 99.9 nucleotide bases are exactly same in all of the people, what I have told you before. The functions are unknown for over 50% of the discovered genome. Now, less than 2% of the genome codes for the protein, and repeated sequence are there which is going to provide large number of genome code proportion. Repeated sequence are stretches of the DNA that repeated many times, even 100 or 2,000 times. Okay, they are thought to have no direct coding functions, but they shed light on the evolution. And the next thing, chromosome 1 have large number of genes, and Y have the fewest. Then we have to understand a single base pair different, that is referred as single nucleotide polymorphism. Okay, that is referred as SNPs. Single nucleotide polymorphism referred as a kind of a morphism that is 0.1% genome is just variable in us because of single nucleotide mutation or a point mutation. Okay, this information promises to revolutionize the process of finding chromosomal location, disease, disorder, everything has been going to be find out with the help of human genome. Now comes to the application and future challenges. First of all, complete sequence is going to help us a lot in terms of biological research. The next thing, the various disease, especially cancer, tumor, and graft graft uh, translocation can be easily done with the help of the genome, we know. And then it enables us to understand how enormous number of genes and protein are going to be worked together. That is a case of transcription and translation. Now comes to the rice genome. It was just an idea being popped out into that of the International Symposium on Plant Molecular Biology in Singapore. First of all, we need to understand why rice genome was so much important, because most of the people present on Mother Earth are dependent on rice crop as a staple crop. Okay, so that's why wheat was not being encoded, but rice was the first crop being encoded. Rice genome sequencing is conducted along the same lines as the principle being explained by Frederick Sanger and the second generation techniques we actually use. Yak and Back were prima facie for generation of multiple copies. Next, Rice Genome Project is one of the initial motivator for the rice breeder cereal crops, and then after large genomes such as maize and wheat can be actually sequenced out. This was predicted somewhat on rice's small genome size and realizing that molecular mapping of a restriction fragment length polymorphism of the conserved markers and marker author can be easily identified. The availability of rice genome together with the community annotation and other resources that added functionally transformed genetics research and rice breeding. Actually, this whole process is totally devoted for that of the rice breeding experiment, and rice genome is quite smaller than that of the wheat, barley, maize. So after rice genome, it was find out that we can work on bigger crops. And the main funda behind that is restriction, fragment, and polymorphism. That is, we are going to restrict what kind of polymorphism is going to be present in different cereal crop. So that kind of polymorphism has been understood first in the rice and later being incorporated in the various cereal crops. I hope this part is quite clear to each and every child. Thanks a lot.